Hello, I'm Patrick,
Hi, I'm Sim.
and we're Wizard Core.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. We did
A
that.
duo
we did
of friends. Wait, no.
Yeah,
Is it my turn again?
I don't
A
know.
duo of friends.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, we'd have to do the full intro.
Yeah, a duo of friends that.
I
Was that
forgot.
it?
No, it's a duo of friends that talk about. Is it talk about? I forgot. A duo
that's-
of friends that like to talk about movies, video games, and a plethora of other things.
There you go. That's it.
Today's topic, Patrick.
We'll be talking about ultimately we're talking about our favorite video games.
Probably
we're,
more towards like childhood video games, but
Yeah.
like we'll probably get into.
And then we're going to talk about like disappointments.
Not worst video games.
No, just like
Just
video games that
disappointing.
disappointed us, basically.
Yeah, I think like our personal favorites, like, and then disappointed video games.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It makes sense to me. If it doesn't to them, they'll get it.
They'll get it eventually.
Yeah. I think you started last time. I guess I can.
You start.
Yeah. So I've talked about this to you recently a couple times. Really, even yesterday I was talking about it for a little bit. But really, at the end of the day, like my favorite video game of all time is Sly 2 Band of Thieves. But before I get into talking about that, what I haven't talked to you about is that like the Sly franchise and then the Ratchet and Clank franchise and then the Jak and Daxter franchise are all like kind of tied, like all like nine of those original trilogies are like.
Was it me and you that talked about the like weird creature doing weird adventure as a subgenre of that era?
It was
like Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yeah, it was like animals, fun anthropomorphic animals going on adventures.
Yeah, it was like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Sly Cooper,
Ratchet and Clank. Well, Ratchet specifically.
Yeah,
and then kind of Jak and Daxter.
Kind of
with,
Jak and I
with
put
Daxter.
I put that in the same category, and then like those 5 games are like all really in the same genre of game, like even more like narrowed down, you know?
Yeah, because there's others, I mean, even like Banjo and Kazooie.
Yeah,
and stuff
see,
like
that's
that.
another one.
Yeah.
They all have like little buddies and shit too,
There was like a 2-decade time span, like from.
and they're all fucking great.
Yeah, they are. It's weird that all of them are really good. You know, you'd think that. I'm sure. I mean, I know that there's like bad ones that I can't even think about right now, but they don't matter right now. We're not at that part of things yet. But I guess getting back to what Sly 2 Band of Thieves is not the first video game I've ever played, but it's one of the first video games I ever played, and it took me like years to beat that game. And it's not, I've played it many times like over my life. I actually like recently replayed most of them, and they're not difficult games. So I don't know why it took me like 2 years to beat just one of them. I remember when I finally beat Sly 2, I got my mom, and I was just like, "Mom, I did the thing." And I like brought her into my room and I brought her into my room and showed her the credit sequence, and I was very proud of myself.
I wrote a note down.
Dear listener,
It said like underline because re-hearing us the recording of our first episode, we realized we said like a lot, so we're working on it, even though nobody probably listens to us yet or ever. But
yes, we'll see.
We'll see.
But that's really it. I mean, that's not really it. That is like my introduction to that game, but I don't know. It's kind of to me kind of weird that that's still my favorite game, because I've played a lot of video games since then that are, in my mind, like objectively better games, but when I returned to Sly 2, there's just a lot about this. So like I love all three of them.
Welcome to nostalgia.
Yeah, I
I mean,
know. No, I know.
that is the basis of nostalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can go back to stuff and it can still be good, but I mean, it's the kind of like whimsicalness of it, of playing something from your childhood and stuff
I think
as well.
I think especially like the way they presented those games in particular, because they were very heavily from their from the story to the graphics and everything. They or even the in-game cut scenes. Not really cuts. They are cut scenes, but there's animated graphical sections that are cut scenes, and they're all of the Sly Cooper franchise is inspired by comic books in particular. And from the cutscenes to also, especially when you get into like Sly 2 and 3, you really see just in the gameplay, like how they designed everything, that it's supposed to be like you're playing a comic inside of a comic book, essentially. And I know they even released like some actual comics of Sly, like after it came out.
Wasn't that like part of like a pre-order bonus for one of them?
It was probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
There's even a cool. I don't know. There's even in the first one. I have to show it to you. There's a cool. They got like a Japanese animation studio to remake the like animated intro thing in an anime style, and it's like.
It's sick.
It's sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's weirdly sick.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So is Sly, because it's kind of like childhood games. So harkening back to the last episode, is Sly Cooper the first kind of video game story you remember? Like, kind of like...
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Fully, like the one that got you engaged the most? Because I just was thinking, because you were talking about the story, and the game that I have in my head was more... I am nostalgic for it because more of like the experience with friends with it rather than the story. Well, kind of the playing through the story, because it was more of a co-op thing, and I'll get to mine when I get to mine. But I was trying to rack my brain around like what was the first game that I was like invested in the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, going with the theme of last episode, I'll very briefly summarize like the overall trilogy story for those that don't know what that is. It basically, the Sly trilogy is about a raccoon named Sly who is orphaned at a very young age, and he meets a turtle and a hippo. The turtle is named Bentley, and the hippo is named Murray. He meets them at the orphanage, and they become best friends, and they literally grow up together. And Sly's family, he comes from a family of thieves, but his family, they kind of do like a Robin Hood-esque thing, where they don't steal from normal everyday people. They steal from other master thieves specifically. They don't do anything else but steal from those people, basically. And his lineage is one of the most like famous and like best. They're basically, his family line are like the best thieves in this universe, basically. And the first game basically is about... The first 2 games are about, like, the main villain. Like, the main villain is the real big reason why anything is happening. His name's Clockwork. He's an owl. He basically is... He becomes a cyborg owl because he's jealous of the Cooper family and wants to wipe out their lineage. And that's how Sly is orphaned, because in the opening credit thing, Sly's dad is killed by Clockwork and his gang, and that's how he becomes an orphan. And the whole trilogy kind of goes more beyond. It goes more into it. But the point is on a gameplay perspective, you're playing as Sly for the most part in the first one, and in the second and third one, you're playing as Sly and his gang of friends, including other people that come into the story. And it's basically just a fun... It's a pretty light trilogy. Like, it's not on a gameplay perspective and for the most part on a story level, it's a pretty light trilogy. There's certain moments on a story perspective that are actually really good dramatically, I think, but overall, it's not really taking itself incredibly seriously. It takes the characters seriously, but it doesn't take itself very seriously. So that's why I like it. But I'm curious. I can talk about this more in a minute, but I'm curious to hear yours at this point.
Oh, mine is the Time Splitters trilogy, and those I have not met many people that know what Time Splitters is. But whenever I meet someone who knows what Time Splitters is, they fucking love Time Splitters. And it's like one of those, it's like a hidden little snack that is so fun to discover people. And if you've never played it, I think it was on the Xbox store. And I'm sure like on Steam, people are going to make fun of me, but I'm not a big PC gamer. I'm a pretty simplistic gamer. I like my consoles because...
they're a lot easier.
They're easier. I used to be a huge gamer in high school, and when I was in the military, I just kind of lost a lot of time for it, and just easy sit down and play with consoles and stuff like that. So, but you probably can find it I know the trilogy was on the Xbox.
Xbox Live,
Yeah,
whatever store, whatever it's called.
Situation. I don't know what anything's called anymore
I
because
don't
it's like
either.
Xbox Series XS or the names get confused. I like PlayStation. PlayStation 5.
Kept it simple.
Yeah, so simple. It's so nice.
Yeah.
But the story. I believe the second and third. I don't remember the first story at all, but the second and third change.
Main characters.
It keeps the same main character, but the story, they're unique in their own way. It doesn't. They each tell their own story, and then it's basically ridiculous action. Specifically, Future Perfect is perfect. It's great because it's Cortez is the main dude. He looks like Vin Diesel with goggles on. And he's trying to stop an alien. Yeah, he's Riddick. Yeah, no, he is Riddick. He looks like Riddick. He's trying to stop this alien invasion, and then they have some MacGuffin sort of object, and it's crystal shards to stop. The aliens that are invading can control time, and they break a shard and send it through different periods of time. So Cortez has to go back through different periods of time to collect the shards. And then every period of time is like a different genre, basically of like movie or whatever video game. Like he goes back to some like Blade Runner-esque neo sci-fi thriller. Then there's like a robot apocalypse. There's like a 70s kind of Austin Powers, James Bond. There's like an Evil Dead horror like house. And then for everyone, he gets a new sidekick that kind of has their own story in that world that he helps with, along with getting the shards. And so that way, it's a 2-person co-op. It was 4 people on the GameCube. I played this on GameCube. And it was so much fun because the second player would always play like the buddy. And I just love it because the nostalgia for me is the shoot 'em up. Just like playing with a friend.
It's third person, right?
No, it's first person.
It is first person.
It's very much like GoldenEye-esque. If you really like, that's very much the same gameplay with like the kind of shields on the side, and you have to get health packs and like there's a billion different weapons. But the multiplayer was like really where it was at. Just because there was like a really crazy like map maker. Like you could make your own maps.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like really like in depth, weirdly. And then there was a billion different game modes you could play. And it was just really fun to like just get a group of whoever you had, friend wise. It was me and my 2 buddies that I was friends with would play it like every week. We'd have sleepovers every weekend and just all night through would just play the multiplayer together. just doing different game modes. And the amount of characters in that game is ridiculous. Like, you can play like a little monkey, and then you could also play like a robot. It was not balanced whatsoever. The hitboxes were fucking ridiculous. Not balanced. If it was the little monkey, you had to aim down to kill the fucking monkey. And they also had like this robot.
I kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah, so there was this little robot dude who it was a fish tank with a little goldfish, and he had a little robot body, and it would run around like that. That's the level of ridiculousness that this game was. And it's literally just, if I don't know, fucking some like kindergartners like action like fever dream drawings became a video game. That's what it would be if like Mountain Dew Baja Blast became a video game. That's what Time Splitters Future Perfect was. That's the multiplayer for
You're really selling me on this experience right now.
Dude, it was solid.
Yeah.
If you could turn Baja Blast into a video game, it would be Time Splitters 3. For sure. That's 100%. I put that on the fucking box and remaster it. Let's go. It's
the Baja Blast of video games.
It's the Baja Blast of video games.
Talk about a really great Mountain Dew sponsorship.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
fuck Halo. Let's get that on the box right there.
Yeah, I think the Halo fanboys. I don't want to go off on a tangent. Halo is great. However, I think it's like really died a lot because of how bad.
Dude, it's just
how bad the more like after what was it, Halo Reach? I think things really died after that.
It's the extended life of
a franchise.
Yes.
Yeah.
To go on another thing.
Once you get to like 5, it's like
there's only like certain franchises that have ever survived like consistency in quality wise. In like that manner of just like, okay, we've completed a story and we have a good prequel and a couple I loved ODST too. I know it was supposed to be like an expansion and that they just turned into their own little game because Microsoft wants money. But it was still like a good game, like a good survival game because you weren't like Master Chief. It was fun.
Yeah.
But it was like really quick and it only had, I think, like, what was the Waves mode?
I never played ODST. I was never a Halo person, but I always was around friends that were really into it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of through osmosis.
See, I was pretty into
But
Halo.
I also only ever had like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 growing up.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like, I was on that end of things. It wasn't like the Xbox end of things, which had a really great era when we were growing up in particular, which I always kind of felt left out of. But the PlayStation also had some really great shit in it. I mean, like the first PlayStation was where like Metal Gear Solid 1 was and shit like that.
I didn't have the I did have the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, but they were my brothers. I chose the GameCube. And then it wasn't until we didn't have another. Then I later on got the 360, and that's when I got Halo 2 and 1 and played those before 3 came out.
Dude, when Halo, I still remember, even though I didn't. I remember how big Halo was, even not being like a Halo fan.
Halo 3 was
Halo 3 was one of the biggest game releases of all time.
Like crazy.
It's still one of the best games of all time. It lived up to the hype.
I have a little story. I remember being so pissed when Halo 3 came out because I was living in Korea. I grew up in a military family as well. I was living in Korea. And usually it takes some time for stuff to get on military bases, like the American. And so usually it'd come like a week after or something. So, but you could get stuff faster if you like pre-ordered it or had to come through Amazon. So I pre-ordered it, Halo 3 on Amazon, thinking that it would get there like day of. Or faster than...
And this was back when Amazon was not what it is today.
Yeah, or faster than the PX would get it, which is the post exchange. It's like the little Walmart on the base, you know, or post if you're in the Army base, if you're in the Air Force or Marines.
The mail store.
No, that's just it's like the Walmart, not the mail store.
Okay.
That just went over your head entirely.
Yes, it did. The
But
point
I
is,
thought
it was supposed to arrive there.
Yeah, it was supposed to arrive at my house, but we went to the post PX, and they had Halo 3 the day it came out. The one time, like, a game would like come to the PX.
Even they knew. They were just like, we gotta have it.
Yeah, they had it the day of, and I still hadn't gotten it, and I was pissed.
I would be too, honestly.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was very
How long did it
disappointed.
take to get?
It was like the next day, but
oh, okay. Well, that's good. At least,
Yeah,
at
I
least
had
it
to
wasn't
wait
like a week or two afterward, just
know.
like sitting there, just being like, huh.
all my friends would play Halo 3.
Yeah.
And all I have is Halo 2.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I can't really speak as much on the Halo franchise in general because I still haven't really played them, unfortunately. I know like Halo 4 and 5 were not well. Yeah. I don't know which one was. I think one was received worse, but I don't remember which one it was.
They made another one. I don't even
probably.
They not. I think it's Microsoft not even just like Halo 4 and 5. They made a remaster of all of the games.
Yeah, they did.
And some like other shit. I lost track, man. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about like, and I guess I don't really have like, ironically, about like the Sly franchise. I don't really have like a lot to say about it, honestly, other than like I really like it. I really like the gameplay. It's very simple stealth gameplay. It's not it's really simple. You literally just like hide from guards as you're walking around these little open worlds. There's like levels. There's like 8 or 9 levels in like each game.
What game company did Sly Cooper? What was
Sucker Punch Productions, the guys that made
Infamous. Did they do Infamous?
Infamous?
Is that why you like? We talked about Infamous. Yeah,
they also made Ghost of Tsushima.
I still haven't played that. I heard that one's pretty good.
I haven't either. I heard it's good too. But yeah,
they have like the black and white.
Yeah, they have the Akira Kurosawa edition. Yeah,
that sounds pretty sick. Honestly,
they're a really great game studio, or they've turned into a really great game studio because they made like 1 or 2 things before Sly, but Sly was like really what set them on the map. Because I don't know if you remember this, but like I don't know if this was a thing for Xbox as well, but for like PlayStation 2 games, they had like if a game was out for a year and it was really popular, when they would make like new copies of it, like the discs the next year, they would have like a greatest hits thing on them,
like platinum hits and stuff.
Like Sly 1, 2, I don't know about 3, but 1 and 2 definitely got that greatest hits thing on them. Same thing I think with like the first couple Jak and Daxters and Ratchet and Clanks.
Yeah.
I think for all those franchises, like the first 2 in particular got that like thing put on them because those games were fucking popular.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure. I remember like I played a lot of Jak and Daxter. I didn't play as much Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper is a bit more, I guess, it's a bit more of like an acquired taste.
Yeah.
I think comparatively to the other two.
Yeah.
Because like
I just remember Jak and Daxter got kind of darker throughout the trilogy.
It starts
the
going,
third one got like, because it's like Dark Jak and like Angel Jak or something like that.
In the third one, there's like the 2, because in the second one, there's only
a minute, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually remember this. And the second one was when they introduced Dark Jak. Because in the second, it's kind of a similar thing happened really with all 3 like game franchises, like Jak, Ratchet, and Sly, where in Sly, the difference between the first one and like the second and the third one is that they changed the gameplay, because in the first one it's just like linear levels that you go through, kind of like Crash Bandicoot. In the second and third one, it's like little open world levels, which works significantly better, like a lot better. The first one's still a good game, but the second and third one is like, it's amazing the difference. In Jak and Daxter, they kind of kept. I mean, the first Jak and Daxter is more of like this sounds disingenuous, but it feels more like a children's game.
Yeah.
Whereas in 2 and 3, what's the word I'm looking for? They did that thing that a lot of like 2000s media did, where they made it like grungy and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? Because in Jack, I think it's just called Jack 2. They like justify, because then I don't know if you remember, like I remember this weirdly. In the very opening sequence of that game, it's like, oh, we're still in like,
we're edgy now.
Well, almost. So they introduce it in the same.
Smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, it opens in the world from the first game, and then they go through a portal into where the second game takes place. Which I'm going to give a spoiler for Jack 2 because I can't describe it without talking about this, but they go into the future is what happens.
Yeah.
And in the future, it's like Blade Runner dystopia, basically. And they justify Jack talking and being like a little like angry emo kid, basically, by they're like, oh, we put dark eco into him for the past like 2 fucking years, which is why he has that power now to turn into Dark Jack. And in Jack 3, somewhere in the beginning of the game, because he still is dealing with like the fact that he can turn into Dark Jack and shit. In the third game, they introduced the light. I think it's called Light Eco, and he gets like infused with that as well, so you can turn into both. Essentially, at will, if I remember correctly, and they both have like completely different power sets and everything. It was honestly really cool.
Yeah,
and also Ratchet and Clank. Honestly, I replayed the first Ratchet and Clank and the second one. They always were kind of. I was kind of surprised when I replayed the first one because there's some like humor in that game that's like for adults.
Yeah.
Especially in like 1 and 2. I think you would like 2 a lot because in 2 it's a lot more about like. The first one is kind of a critique of like corporate America. The second one is really a critique of corporate America. The third one. Kind of. It's more about like, oh, we came up with this interesting gameplay arena style kind of thing, which they built upon in the first 2. But in the second one, I love the second Ratchet. I love the first Ratchet and Clank game, but the second Ratchet and Clank game, what they did is they introduced like the strafing stuff with all the weapons, which wasn't a thing in the first game. And when you play the second game, it like you almost can't go back to the first game and play it properly because you're like. The way they just did this in the second game is so much better.
Yeah.
Like they literally have like arenas you fight in and shit, and there's all these fucking weapons that.
I remember that.
It's really good.
It's been a minute. I didn't play the PlayStation 2 as much because, like I said, it was.
Well, there were a lot of more like single player games too. The Xbox was definitely better in the sense of.
I didn't play Xbox until way later, so like
what year? 2007 or something like that.
Yeah, 2007, I think.
Yeah, because I started playing the PlayStation 2 when I was pretty young. Because my dad was I don't know if he was always into video games, but he got video games. He got like I remember when like the PlayStation 3 came out, for example. So we had multiple PlayStation 2s and shit. And I remember when the PlayStation 3 came out, he like got that like day one.
Yeah.
He was one of those people. My dad was one of those people that really he was really into like nerdy shit because he was a graphic designer / illustrator and whatnot, and he was really into stuff like that, and he also really liked getting like top of the line nice version of nerdy shit.
Yeah.
So when the PlayStation 3 came out, he was just like, yes, and just got it like day one. I remember coming home and I also was just like, yes.
No, I had the GameCube till I got the 360, basically.
Yeah, you see, I kind of wish I had been able to experience like Xbox and Nintendo as well as like the PlayStation all like at the same time because there's so many good games on all these systems that
I had the
came
GameCube and the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 2 was my brother's.
Yeah.
But I played like Turok Evolution.
Oh, I remember. I didn't own it, but my friend had it, and I remember that.
That game's gnarly.
It is.
Yeah. I always remember the opening scene where like the dude comes out and he's like, blah, 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 and then the like little fucking tomahawk comes out and just like rips half his fucking face off. I'm like in kindergarten when I'm watching my brother play this, like, wow, this is fucking awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. I just remember that he's like a giant lizard dude. He just goes, blah, blah, blah. what is it? Conker's Bad Fur Day. Played
Oh
that.
yeah, I never played. I've seen it though. I've never played it, but that game. That game was like designed to trick parents into getting their kids to play it.
Oh yeah,
It's
like Happy Tree Friends and shit like
Yeah.
that. There are certain things that just like
That's one of the-
designed to like trick parents into like a lull of comfortability.
I remember a couple different things from that game. One that the second you said it immediately came to my mind is this. I don't think it's a side mission. I think it's like a main story thing where he has to like do something for this flower girl, and let's just say the sexual innuendos are not undertones. They're overtones.
Yeah.
In that, and also like you literally battle like a literal giant singing pile of steaming shit. And it's all done and designed in this like GameCube era like fun kids game style type thing. That was developed by the same. I think this is correct. I think that was developed by the same studio that made. Almost said Mad Max. Max Payne.
Really?
Rare Games. Didn't they develop Max Payne? Rare.
Initially, the first one.
I think the first two.
Okay.
Not 3, obviously.
3 was Rockstar. Jinx.
Is this wood? I don't know. I knocked on it.
Knock on wood? I always thought it was like pinch poke, you owe me a Coke.
I don't know, man. I think it's different everywhere. There's so many things that you have to do.
It's another generational gap, okay? Kids nowadays don't know anything about punch buggies.
Probably not. Well, I don't even know what they do these days.
What like punch the?
I know what that is.
I know you know what that is, but I just realized I haven't seen. Have you seen a fucking VW buggy
in person?
Yeah, like recently. Do people still like own that shit? I know they don't like make them anymore.
You mean like the bug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one. I actually rode in one that was from.
No, but I mean like recently. Have you seen any on like the road? I know they don't like make them.
I can't think of a.
But you would think that like people would own them for like a vintage reason, right?
Actually, yes, because my aunt and uncle have one.
Yeah,
they have one of like the last ones that came out. Before they bought it, like nobody knew at the time, but they bought it like around the time. Yeah. It was one of the last.
What is that, like 20 something?
2010s. It's like maybe 2016, something like that. I don't
remember
when they
stopped.
What a
weird little side tangent, but yeah, I was just like that just popped into my brain right there. But when I think of like video games that I like really like or love, I played a fuck ton of video games when I was in like young, like elementary through high school. I pre-ordered everything. Same. I went to like Blockbuster and rented shit. I would beat a game over a weekend or something. I was never like a completionist though, right?
Neither was I.
I was never. I like 100% like the achievements. I didn't give a fuck about that. But if I really like loved a game, I would sit down and like beat the campaign at the very least. I could do it in like one night. One or like couple nights. Like it took me a while to get around to playing the Uncharted games.
Oh yeah, I played. Speaking of my dad, that was one of the games that he bought.
So actually, So
the first one,
I think I didn't play them until I got a PS3. And
they were
by
exclusive.
the time I got a PS3, it was when I only got a PS3 is when the first Last of Us came out. And
so like kind of in the middle of everything.
Towards the end. Towards the end, because like as soon as the Last of Us came out is when they were like PS4, and then they made all the fucking remasters. So there was no point in it anyways. And so I decided to go back and play all the PlayStation games that I missed out on. And I got the Uncharted games. And I literally beat 1, 2, and 3 in a row. Like just over the course of like 2 days or something, just like I just sat in my fucking room and just beat them straight through. I fucking love those games, by the way. And 4.
We haven't talked about this. I've only played the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love every single one of those games.
I loved Uncharted.
The end of 4 made me cry. I loved it.
The end
of 3 made me cry.
You know what's sad?
I was hyped that they were making a 4th one.
I bought 4 when it came out, and I never a physical copy, and I never got around to playing it. I had to like sell it back. It was. I'm not going to get into why. There was a whole thing going on at the time.
Yeah.
Like right when I bought it, like all this shit happened. But
yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing.
We got to sit down and play
Uncharted.
those games. This is so good.
Uncharted. I've played the first one. I don't know if I've beaten it, but I've gotten like over 3/4 of the way through the first game.
Yeah,
it was, especially for the time, it was really, really good.
I'm also behind people that accuse Nathan Drake of being a mass murderer because because it's an adventure game, but he kills the same.
So is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I mean, but Indiana Jones does not kill as nearly as many people as Nathan Drake. Holy shit. He kills like a fucking island, a small country worth of people over.
But Nathan Drake is also a video game character.
That's what's so funny about it is though he just murders like how many bad guys there are in those video games.
You know something? This is a weird little factoid that I saw recently, and this is true for all 4 games. When you're being shot at, when you're playing as Nathan Drake and you're being shot at, when like you know, like there's just like that wheel thing of like telling you where you're being hit. In that game series, when it does that, it's actually not telling you when you're getting hit. It's telling you how close you are getting to being hit. Because it's such a weird, convoluted thing, but this is literally how it works in all 4 of the games. It's telling you, so Nathan Drake is supposed to be like lucky, basically, and all that kind of stuff. So when you're being like hit, you're not being hit. You're being told how close Nathan Drake is, basically how close the bullets are whizzing by him, and the more that keep happening to him.
So when you actually get
hit,
it's one bullet.
Correct. And when you die, that's like you getting hit, basically.
Okay.
Which is so
it's supposed
fucking
to be like
stupid and convoluted.
A movie thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's such a weird
enemies
thing.
Can take 50 bullets. Yes. Okay.
Correct.
Great games nonetheless.
Yes,
Wonderful
nonetheless.
stories.
I don't know. That was just you were talking about. I was like, I have to tell him about this because it's so weird.
Yeah.
Such a weird thing to like. Oh, you know. But yeah, I mean, I guess where are we at? I guess we talk about wait, what? Oh, we're 37. We're 37 minutes in. Oh my god. Okay, so I guess on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have to move on to the disappointments. The big one, I know we're going to talk about it.
We agreed on one almost immediately, and it's like both the same one, and that's Brink.
Yeah, Brink. Most of you probably don't even know what Brink is.
Yeah, I don't know if
gamers will know what Brink is.
Yeah, sure. I will speak first on this one because I was hyped as fuck for this game, and I know I've said as fuck multiple times, but I don't know. This is how I speak. But I remember being so excited from the E3 like reveal. I watched that thing about 150 fucking times. I loved every aspect of it. The way they described the movement and that like the way you could change the course of the action by choosing objectives that you could do. Like I forgot what specifically in the E3 coverage, but it was like defend the robot or go take out something inside.
You just like unlocked something in my memory. I remember watching this multiple times.
But it made it seem like you could make up like almost your own objectives and stuff like
which
that.
You kind of could in the end. Kind of
barely went down to like Battlefield. It not really. And
it was kind of, well, I'll let you finish.
No, I was just so hyped, and they kept pushing it back. I remember that game took like 3 or 4 years to come out from that initial E3
announcement.
And then what the... I'm sorry, I'm like racking my brain trying to remember. Like because it was supposed to release in April, like officially, and they were like, yeah, it's officially coming out. And even after that, it was like 1 year later when it actually came. They pushed it back so many times.
Well, real quick, for those that don't know what Brink is, Brink was a first-person shooter that came out in like, what, 2013, 2014, something like that. And the concept of the game.
No, way before that. I think it was like
Actually,
2010.
it was like yeah, it was a while ago.
It was before. It was way before we.
Actually,
even met.
you're right. Because it came out. I remember it came out. It was middle school
I was in
for me.
Texas and then moved to Mexico and moved back to Texas. It was the first time I was in Texas.
Well, Brink is a first-person shooter that came out somewhere in the early 2010s, and the story of the game was there's this like island colony thing, and it basically is like rebels versus the Empire, essentially.
Yeah, it's like police state versus
police
militia.
state versus militia, and there was, as you were
whoever
saying,
you choose. Sorry for
well, there was like
but...
two. There's like one. There's like there's one overall campaign, but there's technically two. But they're intertwined because there's crossover between the police state and the militias.
Yeah, whoever you like choose the side to be on, it views the other side as the bad guy. Yeah. Basically, it's like if you're the police, you're like justice, and the militias like they're like bad terrorists. Yeah. And if you're the militia, they're like freedom fighters, and the police people are like brutal police, like mandate, like Overwatch people, you know.
Yeah, but basically, honestly, what a lot of the gameplay at the end of the day came down to was a significantly not as good version of like Team Fortress 2. Yeah, honestly, and because one of the main draws, at least for me, because I was also really excited. I pre-ordered this game. I was pre-ordered it. I was really excited about this game. One of the main draws for me was the movement-based combat, like the parkour, essentially, that you could do, which is in the final game, but it's not really how they like sold it. Yeah. It's not as integral as you think it would be. We did talk
about this, and we were talking about that it was good.
It was good. Yeah. It wasn't great, though. Yeah. Like, they could really say
the movement.
Really everything about the game kind of is like that.
I described it as this when we initially, like, agreed on this one for our biggest, like, disappointing game. Is I think the biggest part of it, of being a disappointing game, is it's not even a bad game. And it's not bad, and it's not good. It's just okay. It's really just like nothing.
As the kids say, it's pretty mid.
Yes.
It's a really mid game.
That's probably why nobody really remembers it, is because it just got lost in the ether for being so hyped up and just being okay. Like, even bad games can be remembered. They're like,
Brink this game is forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. It's so that's why it's so disappointing.
Yeah, and there was so much. Even when you played it, there was so much like good. There were so many like, I'll put it this way. There were so many. Excuse me. There were so many good ideas. Yes. Like the parkour system. The rebels the militia versus the police idea.
The body type system correlated with the...
that was another thing. There was a body type system where it was kind of like TF2, honestly, but a little different. Yeah, in regards to like the class system where you pick your gameplay style.
Yeah, well, you could choose your body type and then still choose your class. So you could be whatever body type and whatever class. But when you're creating your character, you could choose a body type. You could be like a heavy, a medium, or a light, which is like super skinny. A light would be super skinny, but they can take they would take like
one hit,
they're down, but they're super fast and they're parkour. They can like climb and go over like fucking anything, and like they can be across the map in no time. But they can only carry like SMGs and pistols.
Yeah, you could carry I remember that you could carry SMGs and pistols. No heavy artillery at all.
Medium, perfect middle, like okay, hardcore. You could like. Whatever.
You could use more weapons.
You could use like assault rifles and shit like that, or more snipers, and then like okay movement, decent armor, and then heavy shit parkour, very slow, but they can take a fuck ton of damage. And they use all the big fucking guns. They even had like a minigun in the game, which was I used a lot of the fuck. I loved it. Because you could have multiple characters too. You weren't like
stuck on a specific one.
You didn't have, because your character, when you made a character, you had to choose the side with that character.
And also, as well, there was I think another thing that kind of made it a mid experience was when, like, for instance, So that makes the side aspect of things like choosing a side makes sense, but there was things, certain decisions that you made, like in character customization and whatnot, like
We're
tattoos
stuck.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It was permanent.
Yeah. So when you
And
made
it was
yeah.
like, I remember thinking that was like
Yeah.
cool in concept, but
Yeah.
then when you play the game, it's like it literally is like if you
Yeah.
mess something up, you're just stuck.
Wasn't if you chose a side with the character, weren't you stuck with that side?
Yeah.
With that character, like if you were leveling up, you couldn't switch the side for that character unless you made a new character.
Correct.
I think it would like you were stuck with a lot of like decisions once you made that character because I think it was only a level 20 cap, anyways.
I don't remember.
It wasn't. Much,
yeah.
But
And that's another thing.
Yeah.
There wasn't really like a significant leveling system
Yeah.
or anything like that.
there was like another two big things. Yes, not significant. It was pretty easy to max out a character and get everything. Like
Yeah.
the unlock stuff was a lot of shit you unlocked was through like the training sessions too. Like you would
Yeah.
unlock a lot. It was not even
Which is
from
also
like
kind of stupid.
yeah, which is not,
Not
even
from actual gameplay.
yeah gameplay or like actual achievement stuff.
I don't remember. You would know this, I think, more than I would. Was there a story mode? Because I know there was a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, the story was also multiplayer, and yeah.
You know, that's also probably what killed it.
Yeah.
Also,
There was no like continuous like story. It
Because
wasn't
they
like
had
there was
the-
no actual.
there was no like campaign mode.
Yeah,
It was just
like you know how like Call of Duty has like a one player thing, and then their multiplayer.
yeah. Because
Because
I remember I remember certain maps were essentially certain periods in the story, and you just no matter what when you replayed those maps,
there was no like actual story.
yeah, it was. I mean, the story essentially was
Playing
on both
more,
ends.
yeah.
On both ends is beat the other side.
Yeah,
which is like
and the objective thing was bullshit. It was
Yeah.
like it came down to it didn't mean a goddamn thing. It was
It
literally just like one team attacked and one team defended.
yeah, and like there just
The
wasn't a
attacking
lot to.
team had amount of lives. The defending team had to defend for amount of time, like sort of shit.
It really was just like ultra dumbed down Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
That's what it was.
that's probably what's like the most disappointing part about it is
Yeah.
because that idea had a lot of potential to be a lot
all
more than
the
that.
stuff that they showed for it was like so.
It was really sick.
Yes.
Like it just looked great. And you know what's so stupid? Well, it's not stupid, it's just weird. Weird. Like that same studio, I believe it was
splash damage. I know exactly.
okay, never mind then. I got it wrong.
As I waited for this game with anticipation.
Yeah, you were
I played
following the studio.
fucking Quake Wars, enemy territory. I played all the previous shit.
I thought it was Arcane, which are the people that made like Dishonored and shit like that.
No.
Weirdly feels like a game
Splash
they would
Damage
make.
basically went under after that game and made like
That's
free to play games and shit like that.
That's unsurprising.
Free to play shooter. They made one that looked almost exactly like Brink called Dirty Bomb. I never played it, but it was a free to play like shooter, and it has the very similar art style to.
Because Brink had a cool art style.
Yeah, that was another thing. Because Brink had a really fucking cool art. It's
I
very
don't even know how
different
to-
from like shit. It was very like comic booky.
You know what's the closest thing that's looked like that in a long time
Yeah.
is that one episode of Love, Death, and Robots in like season 3, the one with the crab, directed
the
by
crab?
David Fincher.
Yeah,
that
kinda
was
like
that
the-
was a very similar
Yeah,
looking,
yeah.
like visual style, almost the same visual style.
Yeah.
but anyways,
A little bit more cartoony. Than
It was
that.
more
Like,
comic book.
Yeah, more like
like
cell shaded.
Correct.
It was like a cell shaded version of that episode, basically.
It definitely.
It was like that mixed with kind of not as heavy comic book as Borderlands, but
No, Borderlands was.
Borderlands is literally like a
just
comic.
Well, it's like who. Excuse me, Sly. The Sly games are all cell shaded as well.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't look like cell shading though because of like the way they just did everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like all that way. So it like I mean, so is Borderlands kind of, but
Yeah.
and Sly they really made it
Yeah.
look like that. But I digress,
Borderlands was the first one that I saw that was like that super fucking cel shaded, like that looked like a comic book like art style that I was like, that looks fucking sick. I like. I'll give Brink that is it looked different. It looked like you could, if it were a better or worse game, you could pick it out from other games.
It definitely
in terms of this look to it.
Yeah, not so much in like the promotional stuff for it, but like in the game.
Yeah,
it looked pretty unique. For the most part, honestly. It was weirdly. It kind of did this thing where it was cel shaded, but also realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It was stylized, but also like ultra realistic. It was kind of weird.
Yeah,
it was in a good way. It was like
stylized but hyper realistic at the same time. It was really weird looking.
It was, but it looked cool though. It was interesting to look at the very least. It didn't really that look never really got like, at least to me, it never got like old.
Yeah.
It didn't like, it didn't feel like a gimmick. Let me just put it that way. It felt like, this is like what we're doing in this game kind of thing. This is the look of our game of the whole world. So I don't know, but
at least the art department got it right, you know?
Oh, they definitely did. I mean, I honestly almost would want like an animated movie or show of that story.
In that world. Of like the militia versus the police state sort of thing.
Yeah, and because there's little like CGI like intro sequences for both sides. They look great.
Yeah.
They were those. I remember being so fucking hyped when I had the game and they opened on either side. They opened with those things, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
And then you start playing.
Then you get into it, and you're like, this is basically just like every other shooter, and it's okay.
Like not even like the gun. Ironically, like not
the
even
guns were the same too. There's no like other than like maybe adding like a fucking minigun and shit like that.
Yeah, the gunplay was just like not.
It was okay.
It was mid. Again, it was mid. It was just mid. Like it just wasn't really. Again, this game is just so like forgettable.
Yes.
And it totally shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Because like we're talking about all these things about it that were like actually good. Yeah. And then like and it's so like, this is why we're like both so fucking disappointed by it.
Yes.
Because we both look back at it and we just kind of
talk about it because people were going to be like, well, if it's so forgettable, why are you talking about it? It's because I was so goddamn hyped for it.
I was too.
I was so hyped for it and so disappointed by it. And just nobody really knows what this game is. And so.
Not even the people that made it really knew what they were doing with it. I mean, they knew what they were doing with it conceptually. Yeah. But from a gameplay perspective, they proved that they did not know what they were doing.
Not at all.
And it's just like, it's just so disappointing. Because there's like other games that like, in like the zeitgeist that we all know are like massive disappointments.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like Mass Effect Andromeda. I never played it, but stuff like that, like Mass Effect Andromeda. There's
I hate you, EA. EA. I hate you.
Who is Did BioWare even work on that one?
No, I think most of the people that worked on the original trilogy
they left. Like BioWare, that's right. BioWare did work on it, but it wasn't the people.
BioWare, quote unquote.
It wasn't the team.
It's like, look, we have BioWare, and it's like a bunch of like dead bodies on like marionettes, like typing at computers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think most of them actually worked on. If I am correct, and you can. I think some of the people that worked on Mass Effect and some of the people that worked on some of the Fallout games from Bethesda actually left Bethesda and BioWare and came together to make Outer Worlds.
Yes, you're right.
I think that they kind of like
didn't they come out with a second one? Or they're coming out with a second one?
I think they're coming out with a second one.
Because I heard that one was a bit, at least for me, was a bit of
Did you play Outer Worlds?
No.
I didn't play it either.
But apparently, I mean, it was kind of like, I heard it was good.
Yeah.
I actually heard it was a surprise. But it kind of had like a weird like flash in the pan thing happen. Where like everybody was like, oh, it's good. And like everybody forgot about it.
Well, I think it came out during like a streak of like really good games. And also in the time period.
Wasn't that also a pandemic game as well?
Yeah.
Like, didn't that come out in 2020?
Yeah.
That might weirdly contribute to the fact that it like kind of hit hard and then like dissipated.
I think there was a lot of flash in the pans during that era.
That whole year.
No one really talks about like Tiger King anymore either, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about Tiger King.
Yeah, everybody loved that fucking show for all of like 1 month.
Yeah, you're right. It actually probably literally was 1 month, and then like nobody ever. I still hear every once in a while people joke about it.
I still haven't seen it.
I've only seen like the
still
first
have not
episode.
seen it. Yeah.
Apparently, like since then, there've been. Oh, I think I could be wrong about this, but I believe I heard this. You know how the whole thing is about like, oh, Carol Baskin, like everybody's
that
like
bitch, Carol Baskin. That's what I know from it.
I think since that documentary came out, I think they actually found him. Her husband.
Really?
And he's not dead. And she was right.
Are you...
I'm not joking.
Really?
Really.
Okay, we're going to look this up after this episode, and we will confirm that next episode.
I'm 80% certain I heard
20%
yes.
off margin of error.
Yes.
So we will look it up.
We'll look it up. But I wanted to bring it up because I distinctly remember hearing that. And I was like, really?
Is that why did they make a season 2?
No, I don't think so.
I don't. I know they made like a movie that didn't do any well. They like try to make a movie out of it.
I'm sure they did. I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, what's her name played Carol Baskins?
I don't know.
She was an SNL chick. Maybe she left SNL and then.
There's a couple.
She was really funny. Fuck, what's her name?
Oh, is it the chick that was in Ghostbusters 2016?
Yes.
I don't remember her name.
Not Kristen Wiig, not Melissa McCarthy.
The one she's in like a bunch of side things.
Not
now.
Leslie, what's her name?
No. The fourth one.
Yes.
She plays like the quirky, weird one.
She was in the Mila Kunis dead male stripper movie.
I don't remember her name, but I know who...
Yeah, she played Carol Baskins. I don't know who the fuck played the Tiger King dude.
That probably was good casting, honestly.
Yeah, that could have been, but I remember, I think the movie like sucked and went to like straight to DVD or something. I don't know. They tried to like continue that. That's like one thing that was like a flash in the pan, but like never didn't need more because it was just like a pandemic thing.
Yeah.
And they tried to like make more out of it because it was popular, and just like no one really gave a fuck afterwards. It was like a good way to kill time during the pandemic.
Now that I'm thinking about it, just going back to this for a second, it's either A or B or C. They found him and he's alive. They found him and he's dead, but they can confirm that it's him, or it's whatever happened in the original Tiger King.
Okay, those are 3 wildly different options.
I know.
You said that with such confidence, like
yeah.
You're like, I know. Like that's how politicians win shit. You just say 3 wildly different things that could be any fucking answer. And they just go, what? And you're like, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how are we supposed to stop this war? 1, we stop it. 2, it keeps going. Or 3, we stay out of it. Those are the 3 options.
Those are the 3 options.
I know.
Yeah.
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 You just got to say it with confidence. And they're like, okay, that seems about right.
You are right. I think I am actually, like, the point is, I know they, like, found him. I
that
just don't know.
20% margin of error seems to get bigger and bigger.
As I keep talking.
Yes.
Like, people just look into it. I could be completely fucking wrong. I don't know if we went on like a whole tangent about Tiger King there for a second, but
that's what this podcast is for.
It's just tangents.
Yeah, I think we have more disappointing games to talk about, but we went on a whole thing with Brink because
Brink is
that was the main.
That's the one that you and I relate the most with each other on because it was just it could have been so great.
You did us so dirty, splash damage.
They really did, like it. Because
I watched every trailer.
Same.
I repeatedly watched multiple gameplay overviews and all the. I drank the fucking Kool-Aid on this one. I drank it. I slurped that shit. I chugged it.
Yeah. I did too.
And I fucking died with the rest of them.
Yeah. One final thing I'll say about it, because we're gonna have to wrap up here in a second, is just that, like, the whole parkour aspect of the gameplay and the movement system, what that and it being in a first person mode specifically.
Yeah.
You know how like Call of Duty finally like did all that like years later, but Brink was like one of the first to actually do that, and the way that they did it, they were one of the first, and I think everybody needs to give them credit for that because they actually made it work.
The slide, the jump, and it's like it's because wherever you were moving, wherever you were pointing your character would like parkour on their own. Like you would not have to like press a button or anything. It would just and it moved pretty like seamlessly. It like worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But for all the good and all the bad that Brink was, it's fell down to just being nothing.
Exactly. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Patrick.
My name is Sim.
And this has been
Wizard Core.